Brent Venables, and Brent Venables. All that and more next on Dotting the I with Davis and Chad. What's up, Buckeye Nation, and welcome to Dotting the I with Davis and Chad. This is episode 16, and Davis, I only have one thing to say to you.
Go Bucks.
We're going to the Natty.
Yeah. Dude, it's crazy to think that, isn't it?
It is crazy. From where we were sitting a couple of weeks ago, we're talking about, Big Ten championships and do we have enough games and yada, yada, yada. We go from that to winning the Big Ten title to absolutely destroying Clemson to now talking about playing for the Natty, man. It doesn't get much better than that.
No, and it's a very pleasant surprise. And, we talked a lot. First of all, for the listeners, we finally got together and got to watch a game together. The second one of the season, but, we've been trying to get together to watch a game for the last 2 months, and we finally get together for this one. And, man, this one is one I won't forget. I can guarantee that.
Oh, dude, it was one for the ages, man. And the thing that killed me was that I think you and I both didn't really have, I'm not saying that we were completely negative, but we didn't have the best feeling going into this game.
I don't think anyone did, to be perfectly honest with you. And at the end of the day, it's not that we didn't believe we could win. It's just that we didn't know what kind of team was going to be there because of all of the cards we've been dealt this year with the Big Ten not starting on time and then getting games canceled and then, having our own players deal with COVID issues and so many things going on this year that I knew what team we had, and the people that really follow Ohio State know what kind of team we have. But, when you continue to hear things for so long, you start doubting yourself and doubting your team. And it's not that I doubted them, but I was definitely a lot more hopeful than certain, and which is not normally a boat that I would be in.
I'm telling you, this game, I said it before on the previous episode, this game meant a lot to me for more reasons than the actual football game. And what I mean by that is that, I told you, to me, this was kind of a turning point for Ryan Day. We had failed in the biggest game that we'd played, before this, obviously last year's Clemson game. And this year, I just
failed. We definitely got some stuff taken away from us. But yes, that's the thing. I think had we gotten blown out last year, it'd have been way different. But the way we lost last year is what made everything not only special for us, but I think drove the team more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I was really waiting to see, would Ryan Day have this team ready to go? Would he be prepared? Would he instill a game plan, that could allow him to be successful? And boy, did he.
Yeah, man. All right. So if you were living under a rock, obviously Ohio State was touchdown underdogs, and a lot of people figured that Clemson was going to blow them out by double digits to prove that Ohio State didn't belong. It's everywhere on Twitter, and it's everywhere on Facebook and in the media. No one picked Ohio State, completely disrespecting them. Now, to an extent, I can't blame some of what they're saying because, like I said, we didn't look that strong at different parts of the season. And we had a lot of stoppages, and we had, minimal games. But the argument that we missed Illinois, Michigan, and Maryland, that, anyone could – knowing the team that we have, sure, we haven't played our best. We weren't going to lose those teams. I'm sorry, but we were not going to lose to those teams. The whole argument that we didn't belong – is more on the basis of we didn't know exactly if we were good enough or not. Not, they didn't play enough games, they shouldn't have qualified. No, we just didn't know if they were good enough. And I think they finally proved what they were capable of and what we always thought that they were going to be capable of.
Man, I'll tell you what, man. Justin Fields showed he was such a leader, man, such a tough leader in this game. Going through what he went through and still throwing for six TDs and injured. You know what I mean? That shot he took from Skowski when he got ejected on the targeting call, that was a shot.
When I first saw it, and then I didn't even have to see the instant replay. When I saw how Justin Fields got hit and he didn't go forward at all after that, and that's a move that he typically does is he'll run and he'll spin to get an extra 3-4 yards to, the tackler can't wrap him up clean and he'll be able to fall forward. And he would have had the first down in that instance. He did stuff that he's done all year, but he guessed wrong. He spun the wrong way and went straight smack into Skalski. And it's kind of unfortunate for Skalski that, he got that targeting call, but, it was unfortunate last year. It was unfortunate last year when Clemson was the beneficiary of a questionable targeting call to where, had he not dropped his helmet, I'm talking about Goldilocks, that could have completely changed that game. Now, I think that was more of a factor in that game than Skalski being ejected in this game and that being more of a factor because we still were going to get ours against their team. Besides the first couple drives of the first quarter and the third quarter, Clemson had nothing on us, like nothing.
Which is really odd if you look at the stat line, because I think the key was Lawrence still got his. Okay, he was like 33 for 48 for 400 yards and 2 TDs.
Yeah, but he threw the crap out of the ball, and he's going to have higher numbers because they only rushed for 44 yards, and they realized early on they weren't going to be able to run.
I'm saying that's what I mean. I think the key to the game was that we stopped ETN, and he didn't look himself either. I don't know.
I think he got banged. I think he got banged up a little bit early on, and not to the extent Dobbins did last year, but I think he kind of his efficiency was going to be taken away from him for whatever he was dealing with. But I think our D line, man, did a great job, did an amazing job at finally getting to the quarterback, putting some hits on the quarterback.
I really thought one of those guys, let's put it this way, the players of the game, Justin Fields for offense and Tuff Borland with 8 tackles on defense. I didn't think Tuff Borland was the player of the game by far. No, I thought one of the D linemen would get that award.
One of the D line, I would have probably given it to Justin Hilliard. Because Justin Hilliard, man, he was flying around the field when he was on there, and he made some big-time tackles. If you go back and watch some of the footage, he's coming off of one receiver and getting to another and stopping them in the backfield or stopping them from getting first downs and wrapping up. I mean, Justin Hilliard, man, I'm so high on him, and I'm so happy for the guy. I'm so happy for the guy. I mean, he was a 5-star. First of all, he was like, there are guys that got recruited with him that have been in the NFL now for 3 years. He's a 6th-year senior. He got an injury eligibility that he was allowed to come back and play again. I mean, that boy is probably 24 years old. He's probably the oldest person in that locker room, but he
does. He's got a receding hairline.
Well, and he's got a grown man facial hair too. Like you take it off and you're like, oh, sorry, coach.
But the thing is, man, with him, and I'm kind of with you on that. I am not a Tuff Borland fan. I think he's a good player, man. I think he's a smart player. I think he's where he needs to be a lot of the time. I think he's got a good football mind. But, dude, I can outrun him in a foot race right now. And I'm 40 pounds overweight and old.
Well, we were talking
slow.
We were talking about this during the game, especially with another one of your buddies about this. But I think the importance of Tuff Borland on the team is not as much his athleticism as it is.
Well, it can't be because it ain't there.
Well, he's the glue that keeps the defense together, man.
He's some slow-ass glue.
Well, listen, does it still adhere?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Adhesive is adhesive, okay? It may be quick dry. It may take a couple hours, but it still gets the job done, right?
I guess so.
But, he's got intangibles past the athleticism that makes him an important part of the linebacking crew. And, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that Justin Hilliard is definitely the better linebacker, but Tuff Borland's been in the system for longer. He's had more experience, and he has more continuity overall with the defense. So I feel like that's kind of why he gets the starting job, obviously. But I agree. I don't think he was a defensive player of the game. He had a good game, but he was not, a game wrecker like some of our DNs were, and, how Justin Hilliard came in and a few other players.
Well, while we're on the topic of defense, let's talk about Mr.
Shaun Wade. What a turd in the bucket, I swear. For someone as highly touted and someone that still somehow got postseason awards, how? I mean, how? I don't get it.
Here's my thing, man. All season long, people have been explaining it away. Yes, he moved positions. I get that. He's doing something different. He's doing this, he's doing that. And I understand that, man, and I sympathize with that. But the fact that he is so lazy and so unaware of things half the time makes me think that he was just never that good to begin with. I mean, did you watch the game? How many plays was he 2 plays he was laying on the ground, and then we watched a couple of plays where guys made receptions where he had like a 5-yard buffer, and that's his lane to close in, and he makes like some blah, half-ass hit on somebody. Like, to me, he looks like he's scared to hit anybody, like, at all. And then that guy just ricochets off of that and gets another 3 yards before someone else that actually wants to tackle him tackles him.
Yeah, before Proctor comes in like a silver bullet should and tries to plow him over.
I just don't like him, dude. I don't know if he's given up because he doesn't want to get hurt because of his draft stop, or if he's really this lazy.
I mean, I'm even trying to tell me legitimately, besides one game where I think he had like 2 picks on the year and they were off bad throws. It wasn't like he went up and stole the ball from someone, but tell me honestly, when's the last time you remember that Shaun Wade made a good play? Like a tackle to stop before a first down, or actually broke up a pass? Because every time, like, even though it was obvious that the Clemson wide receivers were pushing off a little bit, but man, be a man and get in there and try to do something. Like, I don't understand. He just literally looks like he doesn't care.
That's exactly what it looks like. And the thing also that kills me is that Shaun Wade was so highly touted, you know what I mean? And I get it, man. Quarterbacks are seeking him out. They're targeting him. Like, your number one corner is not supposed to get targeted like that. Like, they're supposed to throw away from you. They're throwing at him because they know they can beat him.
Yeah, anytime there's been any type of quality receiver, especially Indiana, lit him up. Penn State lit him up. Clemson, him individually lit him up. He's a liability. I don't know how you fix it, because we don't have a lot of depth at DB right now, and I don't know how you address that.
At this point, I don't think you can.
Just try to put a Band-Aid over it and hope it doesn't hurt us too bad for
hope
the
that he comes to play. Yeah, I hope he comes to play. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't think that Shaun Wade is not capable of doing the things that he's advertised to do. I'm just saying that for some reason he doesn't want to do them, it looks like.
Yeah, I don't have an explanation for you on that. I really don't. Maybe we're just remembering him being better last year because he was surrounded by more talent and he could be a little more free, and it maybe didn't expose some of his weaknesses. But now that he's kind of more the centerpiece, it feels like it's too consistently bad for it to just be, something simple. I just don't think he's as good as what the hype is. I don't.
No. I don't either.
But anyways, I don't want to spend all the time. This was a happy moment. Let's get back to happy.
Such a happy moment. Several times during the game, we looked at each other, man, and I just thought, is this reality? It had that feeling of the 2014 Alabama game, did it not?
Well, leading up to it, it did. And I mean, it was the Sugar Bowl. We're wearing the same jerseys. I mean, like, it was almost kind of like everything kind of lined up. It was crazy, too, that in the game, it's like some of the wrongs that happened last year kind of got righted this year. Like, ETN kind of was banged up and didn't really run very good. Same thing happened to Dobbins after the first 2 quarters last year. We had a targeting call that went against us last year. They had one that went against them this year. We had a fumble play that you argued with me, you didn't think was a fumble. It was close, but we got the benefit of the doubt and we got the fumble. It literally feels like all the wrongs were righted. We were the better team last year. I mean, judging by what we saw on the field, we're the better team again this year.
And I think it has a lot to do with the game plan that was instilled. Just answer me this question real quick. I've been waiting to bring this up. When was... Well, first of all, yeah, that too. First of all, if there was a drinking game for the amount of times that Herbie mentioned Brent Venables during the game, we would have been hammered after the first quarter.
Yeah, I wouldn't have lasted. I tried to keep up, but I mean, we're like just sitting there talking about the game. All of a sudden we hear Brent Venables. We look at each other right in the face and go, Brent Venables. Yeah. Brent Venables. Like, good Lord, like, get off of him. Like, we're so tired of hearing about Brent Venables that
I hope that him and Herbie made out after the game, because that's the only way that this is going to, there's a lot of tension there between those two, apparently.
I bet
there's a love fest.
I guarantee that ESPN gives all of these announcers like a check sheet, and maybe they had like a little side game going for like $1,000 on who could say Brent Venables' name more.
He's like Super Troopers.
Yeah. They were playing a game of meow, but with Brent Venables. I mean,
sure seemed that way.
Clemson's offense could be on, and they'd still go, yeah. So the next drive, Brent Venables. He's like, oh, check that one off the bingo board.
When was the last time in Ohio State history that we threw 3 touchdowns to a tight end? Any tight end. Let alone when was the last time we threw...
JT Barrett had a lot of throws to tight ends.
But man, I feel like this is the first time in forever.
Well, to use them to this extent, yeah, but it was the perfect thing because we didn't really utilize them throughout the season because we were a quote unquote quick study, according to Dabo, and didn't have a lot of tape to review. I told you last week, and you can go back and listen, that we have the element of surprise. That is one thing that we were going to hold in our pocket that was going to benefit us out of all of this. And that's exactly what we saw. We were pulling out things that we haven't done all year. And it's really hard to defend something when you've not seen it before.
Yeah, I know.
So
speaking of the element of surprise, how about the first touchdown to tight end? Which one was it?
I think it was Luke Farrell.
No, he was the second one, I thought.
Yeah, no, Luke Farrell is the one where he's just standing there and he like zips it in there.
Yeah, talking about the element of surprise.
Yeah, it's like he's all
like,
coming, but like, yeah, like holy crap, like look what I found.
Yeah.
I mean, I still don't know if that was a perfect pass or it was just pure dumb luck, but it just seems like he boxed out the Clemson player and just like snatched it in his left arm.
The other tight end, whichever one did not catch that ball, because I can't.
That's
I thought it was
Jeremy Ruckert.
Rucker, I thought was the one that caught the ball, but anyway,
it could have been. I don't know.
The other one, whichever one caught it, the other one was wide open. Wide open.
That's true. And I think when they finally started playing up, that's when we were beating them over top. Like whatever we were calling looked like it. The only plays that I saw that didn't look like they were working is we kept running Trey Sermon to the short side of the field.
It was driving me nuts.
But I told you, like, either they're seeing something that's there and they're wrong, or those are setup plays. So anyways, I remember throughout the game, you're like looking at me like, what's your confidence level right now? Like 0 to 10, 10 being we're going to curb stomp them, 0 is we're going to get blown out. We both started out at like a 4, maybe a 3. Then I'm watching at some point, I'm up to a 6. Chad's at like a 5. Then something happens. I think he gets that ball tipped and throws his lone interception. And you're like, Chad's like, I'm back to a 4. We're up by 21, but I'm back to a 4. Like, I've seen too many things happen. And it was almost weird. Like, we were kind of waiting for something to start unraveling just because not that we feel like it would, but just because maybe sometimes history has proven that can happen. I don't know. I don't even know why we're thinking
Ohio
that.
State.
No, but see,
I do.
Ohio State doesn't really blow things like that. Like normally we get blown out by just acting like idiots for the whole game. But
like even in last game, don't you remember what play was it? There was a play that completely changed. It was the targeting call. The targeting call completely changed the feel of the game. Like from then on, like the tide changed and it was noticeable and I felt. And those situations like that where something bad happens, I always think, oh, here we go. Like, they do have, quote unquote, the best quarterback in college football right now, and a lot of weapons. There's still a lot of time left. Now they've got something going their way. Like, is this the start?
Right.
That always seeps into the back of my mind.
Well, if you remember after that tip ball, because we were going down there getting ready to score to try to go up 42-14. Yeah. And at that point, it would have been like, holy crap. You know what I mean? He gets the ball tipped in the end zone, and then Clemson goes ahead and drives it all the way down and scores to make it a 14-point game. And at that point, it was 35-21. And I think that's the moment where we both looked at each other and said, we have to score right here. Like, we have to. And sure enough, Justin Fields, 56-yard bomb to Olave.
Let's talk about Chris Olave for a quick second, man.
Most underrated player in the country. Gets no credit for anything he does, and he might be. Listen, I mean, I know it sounds like a hot take, but he's a Devontae Smith. He may not be as athletic or as shifty or as quick, but in regards to the numbers he puts up and the importance to the team, he's a Devontae Smith. I'm sorry, but he is.
Yeah, he is. Obviously, I still stand by Garrett Wilson's the best receiver on the team.
Most athletic and the highest ceiling that he could reach in potential. Right. Absolutely.
But as far as what you mean to the team, dude, Chris Olave just makes it happen, dude. You
saw that in the Northwestern game. Just him being out put a big old wrench in the passing game, and then it just snowballed from there. Just simply having him there as a threat opens other things up.
And the biggest thing is, man, Justin Fields trusts him. There's a relationship there. Those are some things that you just can't buy. That relationship between the two of them, he trusts him. When a ball is going in traffic or a deep ball is there, he chucks it up and he knows Olave's going to go get it. He knows that. And like that's something you can't buy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like that 56-yard bomb is good and all, but it's the plays like when it's 3rd and 8 and he finds the marker in the middle of the field and gets the first downs, or he's over on the sideline and he drags that foot. Like even that play that Justin Fields came back from, after getting hit, his first play back, and he rolls out to the right and throws it to Olave. I was sitting there watching that play as it developed. And I said, dude, no one's open. He's going to have to throw this away. Somehow Olave does this quick little shifty turn in, turn out real quick, come back to the boundary line and drags a foot. And the ball literally was probably thrown about 2 yards out of bounds, and he reaches out and grabs it with a foot in. Like, that's unreal, man.
Yeah.
Like the ball skills and the feet control that he has, he's so underrated. And the crazy thing is that he wasn't even a highly drafted player. Like, Ohio State was going to look at a quarterback, and while they were there, was like, hey, you might want to check out this other guy too while we're here. And that's kind of how Olave got put on Ohio State to begin with.
Well, it was definitely worth it. I'm glad to have him. He's, like I said, he's become one of my favorite Buckeye receivers, and I'm not saying he's the best Buckeye receiver. I'm just saying, like you said, the feeling that he brings to the game, the energy that he brings, this offense completely changes when he's in there, and that's just amazing.
So we brought up the last time, there were like 3 keys to the game that we thought were going to be important. It was red zone offense, it was defense getting pressure on the quarterback, and it was just overall play calling, like mixing it up, being balanced, having just kind of a good feel to the game and not being predictable. In my opinion, I think we scored an A or higher in every single one of those. Obviously, the red zone, we just had that one tipped pass by Fields, and I'm not even sure if he was completely in the red zone. He might have been outside the 20, but there wasn't a single field goal attempted in that game.
No, and at one point when they flashed that stat on the screen, you and I looked at each other and realized that of all the drives we had, and this was late in the game too, we'd only punted twice. Everything else was the touchdown.
Yeah, it was at that point, it was like 2 punts and the pick, and that was it. Yeah. So like out of 8 possessions, we had scored 5 times and 35 points in the first 8 possessions. That's getting it done. And I think a lot has to do with we had the game plan against the way Brent Venables coaches. Brent Venables. Because he likes to do like a lot of late calls and shifts and stuff kind of after he sees the offense line up. If you remember watching, especially in the first half, we'd be huddled. It wasn't like we were running tempo, but we'd be huddled up, and then all of a sudden, we would real quick get in formation, and then one clap and boom, go. And give him no time to adjust. And even on that first touchdown, that Trey Sermon run that went for like 30 some yards, we snapped the ball and they didn't even have half their defense in position. The game plan, bravo, absolutely bravo.
And like you said, I really enjoyed the tempo thing too, because a lot of times we mixed it up all the way down. You could never tell what we were doing. Sometimes we went fast, sometimes we went slow, sometimes in the middle. There was just so much going on, and dude, you could noticeably see Clemson's defense was perplexed a lot.
Yeah, Moskowski was still in there. He's yelling at people to come one way, then trying to yell them to go the other way, and then you catch him out of position. And it was funny, like on that first pass to the tight end where Fields rolls out to the left, stops, turns like 90 degrees, and throws back across the field. You watch Skowski completely going all the way over the fields, and as soon as he sees him stop and turns, he just kind of almost puts his head down and just points to the left, like it's going that way.
Yeah. Somebody
somebody get it. So,
oh yeah,
man, we everything that we thought was going to be critical in this game, we did with flying colors. We had a few things go our way with some calls. Finally, not that they were super questionable, but at least they went in favor of us. Sure, there were a few kind of bad calls on both sides. Like there was one time that led to a touchdown for Clemson where Pete Warner got called for like grabbing the hole of a helmet, and there was no hole in the back of the helmet.
No,
he just had his hand on the back of the helmet, didn't grab anything, and got flagged 15 yards for that. And I think it was a 3rd down play.
Yeah.
So
and I think they let a lot go, like we were talking about.
That's a big
lot of hand fighting and push offs that were let go receiving wise, and they had excuses for him. The one on Sevy Banks that I really think about, that he pushed off pretty hard. To the point where he made the play by pushing off like that. And they're saying because, Banks didn't turn around that it wasn't pass interference, but I was kind of surprised by it. But
for the most part, though, I'll be honest, it's really hard, especially at live speed, to make the right calls on everything. Like I get that. It just gets frustrating when it seems like you consistently don't get the benefit of the doubt on some calls. And I'll tell you what, our DBs all year have not gotten the benefit on any offensive pass interference calls. I don't think there was a single offensive pass interference called against the other team that we were playing at all this year.
Here's my biggest question for you. I was saving this one till kind of the end when we were talking about Clemson here. And that is, do you think that this team that came out here on Friday night and did this is the real Ohio State team, or was this just us playing out of our mind?
I think it's a combination, because I think the drive that we had for this game is going to be hard to mimic, especially since we're kind of inferring that we're talking about, can we match this against Alabama in the national championship game? We've had a grudge on this game since last year. The goal was to get back to this game. Honestly, I mean, sure, the goal is to win the national championship, and had it been against Clemson at that point, then great. But really, we wanted another shot at Clemson. We wanted it. The players wanted it. It's one of the big reasons why we fought so hard to have a season, and we fought so hard to try to get to this point. So that's why the craziest thing of this whole thing is that we actually got that semifinal matchup again. Looking back, it's almost kind of like, how did we not see that they were going to come out so fired up? Like, you figured they would. We hoped they would. But it was really hard just because of what we had seen on the field up to that point. But man, it's crazy to think about it, isn't it? Like, we literally get another crack at it a year later, and we do it, and we are dealt every bad card to not even get, given a chance to get there, and we still manage to do it.
I think the biggest motivation for us coming forward here, obviously I told you that this was my Super Bowl, just similar to 2014 when we beat Alabama. That was my Super Bowl. Playing in the Natty and beating Oregon was a bonus for me. But I wanted to shut the SEC up. This year I wanted to shut Dabo up. I'm glad that we're going to the Natty and everything like that. But this was my Super Bowl. And I think the biggest motivation for Ohio State going forward in this national championship has to be that we're still an underdog and that people do not believe that we deserve to be there, even though we beat Clemson.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher to find some external motivation other than just the motivation of, hey, you're playing for a national title. Because I don't think there's not the bad blood towards Alabama as much as there was towards Clemson. And you got to think, I mean, I worry about a little bit of a letdown that could potentially happen because of how much they put into that game. So, I mean, this is going to be Ryan Day's biggest coaching job, is not just game planning for Clemson and, for Alabama, but how are we going to keep these guys motivated after, letting it all out in the field? Because they did. They put it all out in the field for 60 minutes in that game. Like, even to the end, picking off Goldilocks in the end zone, Seven Banks getting the pick and then running it halfway back up the field. The whole 60 minutes, man, we left it all out in the field. And you could just see that, guys were just like, oh, my gosh, like almost that deep breath as soon as the clock hit 000. And it's like it was a reality. I don't know how you bottle that back up and reproduce it again. So, I mean, we're going to save the preview for the national championship for another episode, but that's kind of one of my, I guess it is a little bit of a worry on what kind of effort and motivation are we going to bring here in a week.
Here in a week, man. It's hard to believe it's creeping up on us already. I feel like I'm not even fully over this game. I haven't even fully processed this game all the way, and now we've got to worry about, preparing for Alabama. Like I said, man, just the high coming off this game was just surreal. And, I was actually happy to go back to work today because, I work in a place where there's a lot of guys, a lot of football fans and stuff like that. So just to hear everybody talking about it today got me kind of extra juiced up about it as well. And everybody's just riding this high. Nobody thought, even Ohio State fans, man, a lot of them didn't think we were going to take it to this point. They really didn't. So I'm just happy that we got one. Finally shut Dabo up. Finally shut Clemson up. And you know what? We'll never shut the media up, but at least we did all we can do.
You hear a lot of local stuff. Sure, you hear the national stuff too, but you hear a lot of local stuff being in Columbus. Me being in Kentucky, a lot of the time I'm hearing more of the national side of it. And to be perfectly honest, we got a tremendous amount of respect after that performance. Now, they're actually giving us somewhat of a hope against Alabama when it was seen that Alabama is just miles above everyone else and no one's going to touch them. We've even been given hope. Just hearing that, whether or not I believe it or not, it's a different story, but just hearing them finally give the respect to Ohio State after seeing that performance, and, a lot of them having to eat crow and say, hey, we were wrong. Just hearing that made my whole season. That made everything worth it. That made all of those times that me and you were trying to get together for a game and something would happen, or a game would get canceled last minute, or we get the, COVID report and we'd be missing stars and we'd watch, them have a difficult time missing people and everything that we've went through. And it's not even just what we went through. Like I said last week, like those kids have not had any social life. And as an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, to be, basically completely antisocial, I mean, those are some of the best years of your lives, and you enjoy, being around people, and, they've been super limited. So that's got to mean so much more for them as well.
Oh, yeah, man, absolutely. And you know what? There's part of me I can't help but feel in that Ohio State locker room, the motivation is going to come from, like, this is it. You fought all this way all season long. They've hurdled so many obstacles, man. So many things have come their way, and they've hurdled all of them. And here it is. This is your shot. This is what everybody came back to do. People that didn't go to the draft and came back. This is what it is, man. This is it. It all comes down to 4 quarters of football on the 11th.
Yeah, and we're going to have a lot to talk about with that Alabama national championship preview. Trying to bite my tongue now and not dive into it too early, but it's almost kind of weird because I was so hyped for the Clemson game and it was so exhilarating having that win that I'm trying to find the motivation to come back and be amped again in a way. And I guess I kind of felt the same way back in 2014. Like I was so happy about beating Alabama in the Sugar Bowl that year that it's just kind of like once that national championship game came, I was like trying to amp myself back up,
Yeah.
just to make sure that it was like, okay, hey boys, like this is for it all now. Like what happened 10 days ago in the semifinal was great, but we're moved on now. It's right here in front of us. One more game, we win the national title. Like it's crazy, man. Like we just started the podcast this year and we have been covering the craziest year in college football history and the craziest season Ohio State's had to go through and all the doubters and all of this stuff we're going through. Dude, we're in the national title game. Like we actually have one game and a chance to win it all. And how many other times and how many other years did we feel like we had that team all year and we came up short and didn't even get to national title game? But yet here we are.
I feel like that's how it works half the time, doesn't it? Like the years that you think that you should make it there, that you have the squad, that you have the experience, you have everything, like somehow you fall short. And then these years where you're like, everything's messed up, the team isn't gelling right. I mean, because think about it. Last time we won the title, man, we did it with a third string quarterback.
Well, let me tell you this. I mean, if history repeats itself, then we've got a really good shot. Because in 2002, we weren't supposed to be there. It was Miami that at that point had won 34 straight games, and they had already booked the post-game parties and everything, thinking they were going to kill us, and we beat them in double overtime. And then you look at 2014, like you said, Braxton Miller goes down at the beginning of the season. JT Barrett comes in, breaks his ankle in the Michigan game.
Yeah, but Braxton Miller went down because he sucked. I want to put that out there.
No, don't you do that to me. Listen, this is supposed to be a happy podcast. If you want to go down this road, we're going to be on here for another 30 minutes and someone's going to be crying. But but what I'm saying though is, okay, so so what about the years we thought we were going to win it? Like in 2006 with Troy Smith, got blown out. What about in 2015 when we brought everyone back and then we had that numbskull game against Michigan State? And Michigan State got to go to the playoff instead of us. And we were clearly one of the best 4 teams that year. But we just made a stupid mistake against a team we couldn't. So the times we think we're going to win, it's like we don't. And especially last year, man. Last year, the whole season, I'm watching. I'm like, there's no way that we don't win it this year. Like, we look unstoppable. Like, we're killing people. Justin Fields looks amazing. And we don't even get to the national title game. Right. So if history repeats itself and things go the way they have before, that's good news for us.
Well, hey, let's wrap this thing up. Either later in the week or this weekend, we're going to be doing our national championship preview. Make sure you're checking out our stuff. We're excited. I can't believe it, man. Another national championship. Even though it's only been a couple of years, it still feels like an eternity. And I'm happy that we get this opportunity, especially in the year we started this podcast.
Yeah. And I mean, there's something that I try to tell myself and try to tell other people too, especially being a fan of Ohio State. It's so easy to always be critical, to always feel like we're not accomplishing or not doing to the best of our ability or something. We're constantly bickering. That's, because once we have these expectations, it's very easy to fall short of those. Before even looking forward to this national title game, enjoy what we just got to experience in that semifinal, because that was special. That was probably one of the best quarterbacking games in the history of Ohio State. And if Justin Fields doesn't at least get a tree named after him or a statue or a plaque or something at Ohio State, then something's wrong. We need to rename something after Justin Fields, because that boy has earned everything that he deserves moving forward.
I agree, man. Well, hey, let's wrap this thing up, dude. Tell them where you can find us.
Yep. So as always, I post these on YouTube if you want to go ahead and listen to them on there. And we're also on the other media platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Google Play. So if you're just driving around your car or working out or just got some free time you want to listen, go ahead and give us a listen. And also we're on Facebook and Twitter. So reach out to us, give us a like, comment. We'd love to hear from you. And hopefully moving forward, we're going to try to be a little more interactive with our listeners. I'll just kind of leave it at that, but we're definitely going to have some more interaction with you guys, so look forward to that as well. But thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for the support. We're going to the Natty, baby. And as always, go Bucks. OH.